Is the omnibus hobby dying as well? See, I made both of these polls at the same time. I asked collectors if they're still buying statues in 2023 and if they're still buying omnibus, and I just scheduled them to come out on different days. I already knew what was going on with the statue hobby, but I was curious about the omnibus because I see a lot of collectors, like with many hobbies, getting really gung-ho when they first get into the hobby, buying up everything, and then quickly realizing that they don't have time to read all these omnibus, or it's more overwhelming than they thought, they can't really get through it. And then you see collectors on Facebook and on eBay selling their omnibus, in many cases still sealed. So I asked that same poll over on YouTube. Now the thing with omnibus, before we get into the results and the comments, is that it's a much lower price point than statues. Still can be relatively expensive if you're talking about comics or you're talking about books, because you're paying anywhere between $50 to $75 per omnibus. But the difference with omnibus is that you're typically getting them 40% to 50% below retail cost if you're buying brand new, which is good because you can't really lose money on that. Worst case scenario, the book doesn't go out of print and is still readily available through retailers. You're usually able to at least get your money back. Maybe you lose $10 or so. Unlike statues where you're paying a premium up front and then you have a depreciating collectible. Now with Omnis, I kind of alluded to, if the book does go out of print, if it's super popular, then you even have the opportunity where it appreciates. So maybe you can sell it for cover price and still double up. Maybe it can go for over cover price. Even though they get reprinted and that tends to bring the value back down, there's that window where it's out of print and somebody might be willing to pick it up. So with that being said, I feel like before even going into this poll that the omnibus hobby is a little bit safer, but still, let's take a look to see what you guys said. And we have about the same amount of votes on this as we did with the statue poll. So 1,900 votes. This time it's almost flipped. 63% of you guys said you're still buying omnibus in 2023, whereas 37% said no. So let's go through some of the comments to see what's going on. So Doomed says they switched to Epic Collections. Chaos Switch says, yes, actually bought my first one. FGD also got the Grant Morrison Batman Omnibus on a sale, and I'm still getting the odd Star Wars Omnibus. Drew Stevens says this is the first year that they haven't bought any Omnibus, so the reasons are a combination of price, space, and the fact that I feel I have a very extensive collection, and also because I've been taking this time to work on my manga collection. Yeah, that's the thing. There's only so many omnibus out there, and if you started collecting during the pandemic, which was like peak of the omnibus content, then you probably already have all those back omnis that you need or want, and you're just kind of working on new releases. But look, a lot of people are still getting into it. Still, I only just started 3 or 4 months ago, 21 collected so far, with 2 more due any day, not even hit the stage of having shelves set up yet. Now the question is, how many have you read so far? Maybe 1, right? But the thing, I don't judge if you don't read all your omnis. I always looked at it like a long play. They're going to be there forever. You don't got to cram and read everything right away. So they're still there. Look at Cody Jenkins. Just bought my first 2 yesterday. X-Men Volume 1 and 2. Essentials. As long as the stories are worth collecting, OMAC Films will be buying. Mr. X says, only if they aren't from Marvel. I refuse to buy any of the Marvel Omnis until they get rid of that iMac printer they've been using lately. And I asked him if those were the ones that were printed in Turkey, which I've been seeing recently. And he said, yes, they are. Dang. Yeah, Marvel cranks out the most omnibus, but sometimes the quality is not there. You'll have super thin pages and things of that nature, so that's probably what he's referring to. Shazam says, only still buying because they're still affordable and they go out of print, which is kind of like what I mentioned earlier. Don't have time to read almost any, but I know eventually I will. Plus, they display so damn nice. And that's what made me convert from single issues to omnibus. I used to keep my white short boxes on a bookcase, and they were just so bland. And then when I started filling it up with omnibus with those colorful spines and those matching Marvel red top logos, I was hooked. Marco Chavez grabbed a couple of omnis recently, FF and Avengers by Hickman, both bangers. Amazon has a deal for some time, no shipping costs to Peru. Got to take this opportunity while it lasts since I'm saving shipping like $30 per book. Hell yeah. Steven Madrock says yes, but much more selective than before, which happens in the statue hobby as well. But again, with the omnibus, it's a lot less risk with more reward, right? So you don't have to spend so much to lose money. You're spending relatively less, and you're potentially maintaining value or even gaining. Zat Moran says yes, but only select titles by creators I followed for a long time, like Grant Morrison, Mark Waid, just to name a couple, and certain characters like Daredevil. Mostly collecting indie hardcovers from Image Boom and Dark Horse. Shengser says, oh yeah, 2024 will be a very expensive year in terms of that. Only if I can get below retail. It's good to have like rules that you place in collecting. I'm only getting them if it's in stock and I'm getting it way under retail. I'm not gonna pay crazy prices on the aftermarket or anything that's out of print. Richard Landfork says, I'm starting to move some of my collecting to Omnis because on some titles it's cheaper than buying singles, especially with the price hikes on single issues, right? Man, someone's saying no, only because my budget no longer allows it. I've been missing out on some great ones. Yeah, and when I say they're affordable, I mean, it's still kind of expensive for one solid book, you know, $50 to $75 if you're a younger person and you're working. It's still a luxury item like statues. Here we go, like I was just saying, wish I could afford it. Look at Ashley, I've run out of space, can't exactly afford a bigger house. Black belt collector, buying them faster than I could read them. Preaching to the choir. Look at this guy. I stopped collecting statues in the last 2 years. Instead of, I started building my Omni collection, less expensive, easier to collect. And I've always argued, more bang for your buck. You're getting more content in an omnibus. You're getting 6 inches thick of comic books rather than one static statue that looks the same no matter what. I mean, unless you have Switch House. But yeah, being able to read all of that content is definitely more bang for your buck. Some people getting out of Omnibus, heading over to softcover compendiums. They're better value in these tough times. Been buying since Fantastic Four and Uncanny X-Men Volume 1 came out. Cheers. Well, this channel inspired me to at least pick up Infinity Gauntlet if I were actually to get an Omnibus, or heck, even the OG Age of Apocalypse. So Genghis Galad has not dived in yet, but sounds like they're on the fence. About the only thing I do buy anymore. I hear you. The high ground. Yes, need more space though. Fox overseas says, nope, not buying anymore. Spend about 10 grand on X-Men Hulk and select others. About 5 grand on Hulk CGC. Gave up now. Disney and garbage MCU have killed it for me. Save me money. See, I do think, and that's why I get so passionate about what they're doing in the movies. 100% the movies brought a lot of collectors into the hobby. Shit, it brought me back. And when the movies are losing touch with the general audience, the mainstream modern comics are doing the same, then these people that came in new are going to get turned off, and then they're going to get out, and they're no longer going to buy statues and omnibus and other collectibles because they're turned off with the hobby as a whole. Got into omnibus collecting about a year ago, and the collection has grown a lot. Jade Cassie, yes, I started late last year. It's fun, expensive, but fun just to have the hunt for deals and be patient. Yeah, I used to hit all the local comic shops within like a 30-mile radius to look for out-of-print omnibus. That's actually how I scored Punisher by Remender, which I think is still out of print to this day. Holy Hayen says, I finished my Marvel Conan omnibus, so I'm done. Congrats. And that was such a short window to jump in, grab all those. Now Marvel relinquished the rights to Titan, and we're probably never going to see those reprinted in that format again. Taking a break to buy physical 4Ks, a physical medium that is also dying, right? My man Augie says, yes, for the time being, I'm still collecting omnibus over statues, as just now it's more affordable. However, I haven't been reading omnis for some months now, as I fell out of love with reading. We'll continue to collect, and we'll have a nice new collection to start reading when the bug bites again, and it will. I recently got out of reading too. I fell out of love with it, but I picked up the Miracle Man omnibus. I've been reading through it. I've got a bunch of other titles that I plan to read while I'm on these international trips, which follow the channel. You'll see more about that soon. But the bug does bite again. Blazing Dawn, I started when I was a senior in high school. The first time I watched your videos, I just graduated college a few months ago and have been steady collecting ever since. So cool to hear, man. Thank you for hanging around all this time. I haven't pissed you off yet. Yeah, so kind of what I figured. We see some similarities to what's going on in the statue hobby, but more people are still buying omnibus in 2023. Are you guys still buying your omnis in 2023? Do you plan to continue on to next year? And are you reading them? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and stay minty fresh. Peace. This video is brought to you by THATSPIDERMANBOOTH.com. If you're into modern comics, variants, and exclusives, you got to check out their subscription box. You get 5 comics, $100 of retail value for just $50. But that's not all. You also get an exclusive that's limited to this box, the only place that you can get it. Plus, there are a ton of other perks. Make sure to check out THATSPIDERMANBOOTH.com and sign up for that subscription box today.